Back to Victoria, where anti-women hostilities are boiling over. We showed you some of the footage earlier about the demonstrations yesterday. Well, the state's Liberal leader, John Pesutto, is now facing 3 defamation trials over his response to the 2023 Let Women Speak rally. That was the one Moira Deeming, Kellie-Jane Keen, and joining us now, the veteran women's rights activist who's filed one of the 3 cases, Angela Jones. Now, I'll just point out that Angela's filed this week, so we haven't had a response from John Pesutto to that filing, to those claims. Angela, great to see you. So talk us through why you filed this defamation case against John Pesutto and the background to it. Thanks, Angela.
Thanks, Rowan. I am filing this case because a person in a position of power, a politician, made allegations about me that weren't just untrue, but demonstrably false. And that I'm somebody who's pretty much a nobody, and I had no right of reply. I had no opportunity to clear my name. Now, those allegations have had a profound effect on my personal life. They've affected my employment, they've affected my family, they've affected everything. And I've given Mr. Pesutto many, many, many opportunities to right the wrongs that he did when he said those things about me, and he isn't interested.
James.
So I want to ask you specifically about what, Angela, are basically the claims that you've made here. What are you concerned that John Pesutto has done? I mean, I look at your statement of claims. I know that John Pesutto has not had a chance himself to respond to this yet, but many of the allegations sound very serious. He's essentially, it sounds like, called you a neo-Nazi just simply for having pro-women viewpoints. Is that correct?
That's right, James. That's exactly what he's done.
Tell us.
And you're back.
Yeah, tell us, Angela, the effect of these allegations he's made against you, and he made similar ones against Moira Deeming and Kellie-Jane Keen. Tell us, in your case, what that impact has been, because both Moira was a member of the political party. That's a whole other story. We know about that and her relationship with the Liberal Party. We know about Kellie-Jane Keen is an activist, if you like, for women's rights. She's led rallies around the world against what is happening to, for example, women's sports, women's changing rooms, so on and so forth. What was your specific interest in the Let Women Speak rally and the allegations against you? You say you were a nobody, but what has that impact had on your life?
There's a lot of questions there, Rowan. I got involved with the Let Women Speak rally because I run a service for women who've experienced domestic violence. And we are underfunded or not funded. We have to tick a whole bunch of diversity boxes if we're to receive funding. Women's resources all over the state have been stripped of their funding, and they're overwhelmed, overburdened, and I feel very, very strongly that the impact of men now being allowed to go into those services is also affecting the services. So when we've been trying to amplify this for years, and we've had moderate success, but when self-ID came in under the Andrews government, basically women's rights were obliterated, and only one side of the argument was demonstrated. So women who were directly impacted by men being able to announce that they're women and enter female-only domestic violence or rape crisis or homelessness or mental health services, women were silenced. Our lived experience, we had no opportunity to talk about ourselves. So when Kellie-Jane Keen suggested that she might come to Australia, I stood behind her because she had really amplified the voice of women in the UK and across the world, and I thought she was the best chance that we had of getting our voice heard.
And we saw that rally interrupted by a small group of these cosplaying neo-Nazis, which had nothing to do with the women's rally, and yet you were held responsible for the actions of this group of dozen or so men. And it wasn't just Dan Andrews, the Premier, who came out and lambasted the women. It seems like John Pesutto then decided he's going to be even tougher on you than Dan Andrews. And yet when you look at this issue, it is such a mainstream position that you, Moira, and the women there hold. I would say the overwhelming majority of not just Liberal but Labor voters stand with you. But in this state, both Labor and the Liberal opposition are dead set against your agenda. They are right there with the trans lobby on all these issues.
Yes, Rita. In my opinion, it was a deliberate attempt to stop the public finding out what trans rights means for women, children and same-sex attracted people. It was despicable how they got two unrelated things and put them together. Now, those men turn up to any event where trans rights activists and anti-fascists say that they are going to attend. They don't turn up to women's events. We've held multiple events in Melbourne for women to talk about the impact of this issue, and they've never turned up. They only turn up when the anti-fascists say that they are going to attend. And yet we get the blame of what two groups of men who want to kick off with each other are doing.
And just finally...
Well, that's the crazy thing.
Yeah. Finally, Angela, just the impact on your personal life.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, if it had just been, the core of my involvement in this is evidenced by a tweet that was taken out of context. Admittedly, it was a poorly worded tweet. I was very tired and overwhelmed after the event, but it was taken completely out of context in the way that it was demonstrated to the media. Now, the media took that tweet and what John Pesutto said about it and presented that as facts. Now, the flow-on effects of that on me personally have been devastating. For example, the week of the rally, my 11-year-old daughter came home from school and told me that her best friend was no longer allowed to visit our house because her mum saw me on the news. I've had my involvement in the rally weaponised in family court because I have a disagreement with my ex-partner, and I've had it suggested that me being the target of hate and abuse makes my children unsafe in my care. And to be honest, the degree of abuse and hate that I receive, they're probably right. Like, I was receiving death threats. I was told to kill myself. I was told I didn't deserve to have children. And I'm not talking one or two times. I'm talking thousands of times, and from people all over the world. Now, the media has some responsibility not to report sensationalised misinformation as facts, but the person who said those things had all the evidence that's out there in the community that I have no involvement with neo-Nazis, and he persists to this day to believe that I do.
Angela Jones, thanks so much for coming on Outsiders. You're very brave. A lot of people will be astonished by your story. We'll follow closely and see what happens, but I do urge people who do all the law stuff aside. Here's a woman who's been vilified thanks to political interference. That's all I'll say. All the best, Angela Jones. Thanks so much for speaking to us today. Coming up...